Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If that's moving up, then I'm moving out. I'm moving out.
We got a show to do. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here, John Anthony, in for Dan Broft. You said you wanted Tylenol, right? Or
Yeah.
I don't have Tylenol. I have ibuprofen.
That works.
Want one or two?
Two.
Here you go.
Yeah. Gracias.
De nada. All right. Good morning. Got that out of the way?
Or the drug exchange just happened here.
Yes, it's okay. You're over 18. I can give you whatever you need to have.
30 times over.
All right. It is Tuesday, 7:35, and guess what that means?
Uh-oh.
Our guest, Ted Dabrowski, joins us. Good morning, Ted. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, John.
Hey,
How are
Ted.
you guys doing?
And as we know, Ted Dabrowski is president of Wirepoints Inc., and you could follow him on Twitter at ILPOLISKI. How did you come up with that Twitter handle, Ted?
Well, it kind of sounds, it's back from my days when I worked for Illinois Policy Institute, so it's
Okay.
Ilpoliski. You get it?
Ah, okay.
Me.
All right, so
Kind of
we're in a
clever
little
thing,
bit of
but-
debt here, aren't we?
We are in a little bit of trouble. The funny money, the COVID money, starting to run out, and Mayor Brandon Johnson and of course Lightfoot before him, they took all that extra COVID money and they spent it on they baked it into the budget on things that are kind of hard to unwind, like bigger salaries, more programs, things like that. And so now that money's running out. The expenditures are going faster than ever, and now we got $1 billion hole. And guess what? The mayor may have to back out of his promise to not raise property taxes because he really doesn't have many other ways of getting money right now.
Are there any other streams of revenue that you can think of? I mean, what about, because they're doing the whole, if you don't shovel your sidewalk, that'll be a $250 fine, but it really didn't snow a lot last winter. So what else can they do besides raising property taxes?
Well, it gets hard, right? Because you can do a whole bunch of small things, but they're all going to be small, and none of them will raise the amount of money, and they'll just piss off everybody, right? If you do a $5 million tax here, $10 million there, $10 million there, just ticks people off. You can try to go after, corporates and do things like a head tax, for people that work in Chicago from the suburbs, or you can go after Chicago Mercantile Exchange. But you remember, we're operating on thin ground right now. Even a place like McDonald's has expressed their dissatisfaction with what's going on here. So Johnson's got to be very careful. The one that's easy to raise and the one that he could do right now is property taxes, and that's why in the end he'll probably go after that because he can get a big chunk of money and get it done. He doesn't need state approval, legislative approval, which of course is the easy one, but that's the one that's going to tick off people the most because they're sick of the tax hikes after Rahm Emanuel did his record tax hikes, property tax hikes. And then Lori Lightfoot tied the property taxes to inflation. We've already seen people screaming about their property tax rates.
Wow. And Ted, isn't that something about how far we've come when the first thing we talk about is how we can raise taxes and not cut spending?
Right.
We're talking about how to steal more money from Chicagoans instead of saying, wait, let's look to see where we got it wrong in our spending.
It's worse than that, John. Right now, this is interesting. So, Lori Lightfoot's budget, her first one in 20, was $3.8 billion. Now he's going to spend $6.3 billion. That's almost like
wow,
whatever that is, 60% more.
Yeah.
He's got $2 billion more that he's working with than she did back then, and yet still out of money.
Wow.
And all this COVID money came in. It jacked up the sales taxes for the city, the income taxes for the city, all that stuff. Tons of money came in. I shouldn't say income taxes, but anyway, all the tax revenues for the city, huge windfall in terms of higher revenues. What do? Instead of being cautious, conservative, careful, they turned around and gave it all away. They gave it to migrants, right? I mean,
right. When that's
they put it into
that's it.
the new police contract. As much as I like the police, but new police contract is expensive. A fire contract is coming up, so they gave away all the money. Now their hands are tied, and guess what? The only thing left to do is hit taxpayers.
Yeah, but
they gave it away to non-Chicagoans and non-Americans. But what about the CTUs? Their demands.
That's where I was going.
The $50 billion and 3 cents.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There's another big government in Chicago called the Chicago Public Schools. Different government, different tax, and so and they run on property taxes. They're going to want their share of money too because they have this massive contract to pay, and they have the exact same problems, just a different government, but it's still the same mayor, and it's still the same taxpayer, right? Because the taxpayer doesn't give a damn whether it's the city or the school district. They're having to pay more, so they're about to get whacked again.
What about the city tax? Remember when he was running for mayor, he said that there would be a city tax, and I was trying to explain it to somebody because I was golfing with some of the, well, I'm not going to pay it. I said, no, buddy, it doesn't work that way. You have when you go in, to file your taxes, you federal income tax, state income tax, and then an extra city income tax where it's 3%. So if you make $100,000, you have to pay $3,000 to the city of Chicago just to live in this corrupt city.
I mean, he'd love to come up with all those, but all those he's gotten no traction on at all. All the different, he had $800 million worth of different ideas of how to raise taxes because he wanted to spend it all. Mm-hmm. None of those have gotten any traction, and he got rejected on his real estate transfer tax. I mean, that went down. And that should have been a slam dunk the way he structured it. That it was tax the rich and give a little bit of a cut to the rest. Even that failed, and so he's in deep trouble.
Wow. Hey, Ted, is there a way to measure just how much money Chicago, Cook County is losing? When you look at their high sales tax rate, is there a way to measure how much of that money that should be spent in Chicago, that Chicagoans and Cook Counties just go right outside of the Cook County or Chicago to buy services, groceries, gas, and things of that nature?
I'm sure there is, and I know there's been some studies done on that. People who've tried to capture that kind of thing. I haven't researched it. I don't know, but it is interesting, right? Because if you live right over the border, you're buying your cigarettes, your beer, your liquor, your gas, whatever it is, right? I mean, groceries. Yeah, I mean, heck yeah, groceries, all that. I mean, that's a huge difference in sales tax. We have the highest sales tax for a big city, and go right over the border.
And there's multiple sales taxes.
Well, I got to tell you, so Ted, I'm a big Hammond, Indiana, Highland, Indiana fan. And I go there, do my yoga, pure hot yoga. It's the best ever. Rachel's the best on Saturday mornings. Okay. Do that, and then gas up, go to the Walmart in Hammond, and I spent $297, and my sales tax, it's like $3.
That's the next tax coming.
Are you kidding me? And I asked the lady too and I circled. I go, "Is this right?" And she said, "Yeah, that's right." So why wouldn't people just do that?
You're saving hundreds, or maybe I don't know,
100 a year. Yep, more than that.
Right, and and that's a sad thing is that the Chicago Council, right? They'll get desperate, and happily raise taxes more and more, thinking that helps. When all you're doing is you're pushing more people to shop elsewhere. You're pushing more people out, and you're perpetuating a vicious circle downward. That's how unprofessional these guys are. They're not smart.
Well, that's the next tax, Ted. If you shop outside of Chicago or Cook County, they're going to tax you. They're going to tax you on the tax that you didn't pay because you went outside to another state. They're going to tax you. I'm telling you, these people are going to get creative.
I think they're going to tax the air that we breathe sooner or later.
The mileage.
Car mileage, head tax. I mean,
we don't want to do. But Ted, when you look at it, if we had real leaders and not activists, I saw you had an article on there about that's really on wirepoints.org that we have in our leaderships in the city of Chicago and Cook County, and even when you look at the legislative body, we don't have leaders, we have activists. So an activist job, what they'll do is whatever group that they're representing, that's all they care about. And when you see issues like this, because if Chicago's seeing so many people leave, don't you think a real leader would figure out how do we keep these people here?
Yeah, right. They're not leaders, like you say. Brandon Johnson, he's a leader of a union community organizing group, right? And all he cares about is protecting them. He's not thinking about the city, and they're not professionals. When I think about, I don't know. I haven't been involved in this in government in a long time, but 30 years ago, you probably had leaders of government who maybe weren't great, but at least they were professional, and then they kind of understood that there was a budget and you had to keep it balanced and things like that. That's gone out That's gone now. They don't care about. These are activists, right? They don't
Right.
care about budgets. They don't care about
No.
Metrics. You got to have your numbers. You got to look and see what is the data telling you. Oh, people are leaving, et cetera, and you act on it.
Right.
These guys don't do that.
Right, because Richard J. Daley and M. Daley, they understood these things.
They sure did. And where
Absolutely.
are they now? All right. Ted Dabrowski, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Thank you so much. You can read him at other articles at wirepoints.inc. Ted Dabrowski, thanks as always for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Ted.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Ugh, me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration.